My name is Deirdre Whitfield and I'm a Community Administration Officer in Wicklow County Council in the community section. I live at home here with two cats and my partner, who also works in the council and is working from home though at the moment. My son, who works from home anyway, has always done that, and his partner as well. So there's 4 adults in the house. So which is grand, but where everybody's working from home, it can be a bit space-wise, we can get a bit cranky, a bit. It's my space. So we were asked, myself and my colleague Rochella, to set up and manage and run the community call Helpline and the community response forum, which is completely different, a huge change. It was amazing, and the way that things moved so quickly and things developed so quickly. So it was all in place really in 4 days, but for the first week, of course, it was very intense because we didn't know what we'd be dealing with. We wanted to be prepared for everything, and it was a whole new set of skills in some ways. So far we've dealt with over 700 calls in all. At the beginning that would have been about 40 to 50 calls and emails a day. And that's dropped off now to about 30 to 20 a day. And that's where the people are already linked in, are staying with the people who have helped them from the beginning and don't bother coming through the call centre, which is fine. So it has dropped off, but it was extremely busy in the beginning. But it's great that 700 people have felt able to ring us and talk to us and ask us for help, and we've been able to help them. So the categories we were to deal with, again, were assigned by the national initiative, and they were mostly to do, they called them essential services, and they were mostly to do with collecting and delivery of shopping, or prescriptions, collecting prescriptions and delivering them, and basic things like that. But actually, in reality, things were far more complicated than that. So for instance, we would get a call about collecting shopping, or doing shopping indeed, but the person would have tested positive for COVID-19. So then there was a whole thing about how we collect the cash, or how, if they didn't have a credit card, how was it paid for, how was it delivered. And most calls really were quite complicated, and a lot of them, say about 30% are black and white, but about 70% are quite complicated. The issues that are coming up are digital poverty, hugely, that households with no technology equipment, no laptop, no tablets, households with no Wi-Fi, who need dongles, people who need services that are being delivered online. And we had touched on that, and we did a County Wicklow digital strategy months ago, and we touched on that, but it wasn't so immediate and it wasn't so tangible as it is now. Now we can see the inequality that could cause. And I think there's a sense that because other services have delivered their services online during the COVID crisis, again, they'll probably scale up services online that would have taken them years to do. They'll probably do it more quickly now. So you'll find more and more people who don't know how to use technology, or who don't have technology, will be left out far more. So, and again, we're moving on some kind of action on digital poverty now with a speed that wouldn't have been there previously. So that is great to be addressing that, because there is a long-term implication on that. I suppose the calls that come into the helpline mostly are okay, but some of them really do, I suppose I find a bit shocking and a bit upset that people have these problems. And I mean, top among them would be the people who ring with children who have no food, or no money to buy food, or no way of getting money to buy food. And it's a situation that must be horrendously scary. And taking into account that we are very bad at asking for help, to get to that stage where you would ring a helpline and say, and admit it and ask for help, must be awful. And another is the very vulnerable people with mental health issues or dementia who aren't able to look after themselves, but aren't able to hook into services either. For some reason that we've come across some of them, and that's been really sad. And people in direct provision who are very vulnerable and very scared. And again, linking them with services has been the biggest relief, I suppose, that we have felt in there. It is hard to switch off when you come home because of the cases you've dealt with during the day, and the most difficult ones are still churning around in your head, and you're trying to think of ways to solve them. I saw a lot of dawns that I never saw before. Very nice. And now that we've moved on to other issues, to more long-term issues coming out of it, it has settled down a bit. The anxiety maybe, or the adrenaline. But those issues are still, we're teasing them out all the time in our minds, at the moment. I love that we are doing something vital. I love that we're doing something different and bringing out different skills. I love that the way we are working in the local authority is different, in that it's moving quicker, it's more innovative. But what motivates us and keeps us going is that we have found the short-term solutions. And what's even better then, because it will keep us going through this, is then dealing with them in a long-term sustainable way, or trying to, or doing our best to, and seeing how we can do that. And that is a huge motivation, really, is that we have been able to come up with some solutions. Oh, what we've learned from this crisis, I think number one, far and away, is how strong the community is in Wicklow. I'm a community worker in Wicklow, and have been, but even I didn't realise it was that strong. It's absolutely wonderful to see it. It really is, and it was quite incredible. I think we've learned, again, that people are so independent and do find it hard to ask for help. And I think we've learned that we're not as untouchable as we think we are. We are vulnerable. We're just as vulnerable as anybody else. And it's important for us to remember that. And the fourth thing, we all need each other. And maybe we were getting a little bit, collectively a little bit independent, a little bit, But it's really, and it's strong watching it in other countries as well, not just Ireland, how much we need each other, more than anything, really. I think that's what we learned, yeah.